What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, number one Knicks fan in the world. This episode, we're going to be talking about my NBA award predictions going into the year. We're a couple days removed from the season start. I'm excited. I know damn well y'all are excited. And I think this is going to be a super crazy year. There's a lot of stuff going on. I always say whenever there's this much chaos, the NBA is much more entertaining and exciting. There's just so much. I mean, we got the Ben Simmons stuff. We got the Kyrie Irving stuff. We're going to be monitoring and looking at Damian Lillard and Bradley Beal and their team success all year because we know they're a bad start away from requesting trades. We have certain teams and players that we just can't predict. I mean, there's certain teams I look at in each conference and I say, man, at their best, that team could be a third to fourth seed, home court advantage in the playoffs. But then I'll look at that same team and say, man, that team also could be 7th, 8th, or even play in. So whenever it's that much range between teams and it's that unpredictable, I think the NBA is at a good state. And that's the most entertaining that it could ever be at. So we also got players like Klay Thompson coming back. Jamal Murray, Kawhi are not going to be with their teams. But at some point in the season, I do expect for them to return. And with all that going on, like I said, I'm just super excited. I know y'all are. Couple days away, our first full season since the pandemic, and there's just a lot to expect. So before I dive into my list and my award predictions, I do want to say for each award I have a front runner and a dark horse candidate, and I'm just going to be rolling with those two picks for each award prediction. I do want to hear from y'all after the video is done. When you're done watching, please, in the comments, I'm encouraging y'all to give me all of the dialogue that you guys have, what you agree with, what you disagree with, what are your award predictions for each one. Give me context, give me dialogue. I really want to understand and get a grasp for everybody's perspective and thoughts and opinions. So, with all that being said, let's dive right into it. Now, I'm not going to start with MVP. I know that's like the number one pick or award that everybody wants to hear. So I think I'm going to start, and all of these awards are exciting, don't get me wrong, but I think Coach of the Year is a good one to start with. And my front runner for Coach of the Year is Nate McMillan. I mean, when you think about how well the Hawks played after they made the coaching change to go from Lloyd Pierce to Nate McMillan, you understand that this team was elite. They played some of the best basketball in the entire NBA. They took that momentum and they took that groove that they had and that success into the playoffs, and they replicated the same thing from the regular season. They showed the NBA world that they are a legit team to view and to respect and to put some respect on their name. So going into the season, I don't expect anything crazy to change. I don't think that team was lucky or some stars aligned. I think they're a very good team. I think they're very well coached. I think they're balanced on the offensive and defensive side of the basketball. I think they have depth. I think they have star power, and I think they have a great group of role players that complement their star player, who is Trae Young. So I wouldn't be surprised if out east the Hawks replicated some of the stuff they showed after All-Star break and after the coaching change and playoffs, and they took that success. And they now have some experience. They know what they can do. They know what they're capable of. They have some swagger, and I wouldn't be surprised if they took that momentum into this season and replicated the same thing, and was a team that fought for home court advantage in the Eastern Conference. Like I said earlier in the video, it's not that it's wide open. I don't want to say that the East or the West is wide open, because you have juggernaut teams on paper. The Nets are going to be legit. The Bucks are the reigning champions. The Miami Heat on paper look a lot better. The Knicks got better. The Bulls are drastically better. Sixers got Ben Simmons back. So it's still top heavy. There's still a lot of good teams, but I think the Atlanta Hawks are a team that you have to mention in that realm, because all of those teams that I named that they played in the playoffs, they gave a run for their money. They beat my Knicks. They beat the Sixers. They played well against the Bucks and actually had a chance. So I think this team, at their best, could compete for third, fourth seed. I'll even put it out there. Maybe a second seed, depending on what's going on out in Brooklyn. Don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie, but at least a third and fourth. And I think that would be enough to get some people to respect what Nate McMillan is doing. You saw Tom Thibodeau last year won it with the Knicks being the fourth seed. You don't have to be any one seed or do anything crazy, but to take a team and that tough conference and to put them in a home court advantage slot, I think it says a lot to the league. And if Nate McMillan and the Atlanta Hawks could be a home court advantage team right there at number 3, I think to top the Heat. Because on paper, the Heat to me are the third best team. So if they can get right there at number 3, man, it would be hard to make an argument against Nate McMillan. And I think the Hawks are primed for another good year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had another good playoff run because they check almost every single box that is out there. So I have Nate McMillan as my front runner. Now for Dark Horse, it's a guy that's not received best as a coach. Hell of a player, former player. But when it comes to coaching, his last few stops before this, he didn't get too much love from those fan bases. And this is Jason Kidd. Now, the reason I have Jason Kidd is for a lot of the reasons I have for Nate McMillan and the Hawks. I look at the Western Conference the same way I look at the East. I know the Lakers are going to be solid, but I don't know how much they're going to go after being a number 1 seed. Will they care? They're an older, experienced team who have one goal and one goal only. That's how LeBron teams normally are. Their mindset is made for the playoffs. They're not really caring about hitting 65 wins. Now, if it happens, it happens. But I don't think with their current roster and the age that they have that they're going to be breaking their neck to go and get 60-plus wins, number 1 seed. As long as they have home court advantage, everybody's healthy and prepared for a playoff run, I think that's going to be their main goals for that year. I expect Utah to be a top team again out west. You also have Denver. The Clippers will be good. The Phoenix Suns will be good, just like the East. I'm naming about 5-6 teams, but there's no clear-cut order. And I think the Dallas Mavericks, with the way that Luka Doncic plays, I think Kristaps Porzingis is going to have a much better year. And I think a lot of the guys that they brought back complement them very well. And I think they could surprise people and jump up like I'm predicting for the Atlanta Hawks. Now, of course, both of these teams are 2 teams that I think could also be in the 6-7 range if all fails. One of your star players rolls their ankle, knock on wood, because it's that tight that if your star player is missing 10 games or more, it could mean everything as far as seeding. But I do think Kristaps is going to have a much better year. I think their offensive style and system may not change drastically because I think they have a lot of the same type of players to play that system where it's going to be revolving around Luka, and he's going to be doing his thing, and Reggie Bullock, Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, catch and shooting. And then I do think that what will change is that they're going to try to expose mismatches more and get Kristaps Porzingis a lot more involved. And if you do that and he's able to play better than what he played last year, and he gave you 20-9 last year in the regular season, had a tough playoff stretch, but during the regular season he was very good. And if you can build on that, plus what Luka is going to give you, and they have some pretty good depth with Dwight Powell, Boban, Maxi Kleber, even Moses Brown, like I mentioned, Reggie Bullock, Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith. They have guys who know their roles, understand what's going to be asked of them, and a lot of times, more than often, they execute because they're playing with a guy as dynamic as Luka Doncic. And if you get anything more from Kristaps Porzingis, it's not that far-fetched to be a 3rd seed out west. So I got Jason Kidd as my dark horse guy for Coach of the Year behind my front runner, Nate McMillan. And that's the Coach of the Year. Moving on, now it's tough to figure out what is the next award. We'll go Most Improved Player. Most Improved Player. My front runner right now is Jordan Poole, right? Not long ago, but over the summer, I was saying this is Michael Porter Jr.'s award. Michael Porter Jr. is going to win this award. He's primed for it. But when I think about the history of Most Improved Player, it's not about just improving, but it's usually the biggest jump. Even if you have a guy who improved or improved a little bit more, if there's a guy who improved drastically, he's probably going to win that award. And the way Jordan Poole is playing in preseason, the way he played at the end of last season, the fact that they haven't put out an exact date for Klay Thompson to return, I think this dude, Jordan Poole, is going to come out the gate on fire. He's going to build on what he's doing in the preseason. He's having 30-point games, 27-point games, 7 to 10 from 3. If he's doing that in a regular season, it's his to lose. It's his to lose because there's no player who would also be in that running that would improve that much statistically. And I think Jordan Poole, from everything I've seen, like I said, I know it's just preseason, but the confidence that I've seen him have, the type of shots, he's going to do the same thing in the regular season. And the fact that Klay Thompson isn't back yet means he's going to be in the starter's role. And I could see him replicating the same exact things he's doing in the preseason, in the regular season. And then that would make that award for him, like I said, his to lose. So I do expect Jordan Poole to be in that race, and he is my front runner pick for now. My dark horse pick, DeJounte Murray. You got DeMar DeRozan leaving, now playing for the Bulls. LaMarcus Aldridge obviously left last year. Even Rudy Gay is gone. You bring in a Josh Primo. You have Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jakopoto, Lonnie Walker. These are a lot of younger guys. They brought back Brent Forbes or whatnot, but they don't have a guy who I think on that roster is superior to DeJounte Murray. This is officially his team. He had a good year last year with his three-point shooting and his points per game. We know what he does defensively. Now, if he can build on that offensive side of the basketball like he did last year, but as the clear-cut guy with no more DeRozan, we now have a legitimate two-way guy. So I would love to see DeJounte Murray average around 18, 19 points, 6, 7, 8 assists, still have the same impact defensively, and that's a pretty complete point guard who I think would start to raise some eyebrows around the league, and that would be an award that he can prime himself to take home as well. Yeah, the Spurs won't have the normal success that they have, but I think for this award, it's just going to be about who's improving the most. And I think DeJounte Murray is kind of like Jordan Poole. If he can continue to build on that offensive output that he had last year, more three-point shots, more three-point makes, just more field goal attempts and just being the guy, I think that just like Jordan Poole, this would definitely be an award that he can run away with. DeJounte Murray, man, let me tell you, if DeJounte Murray gets anywhere near 20 points per game, that's going to be a name that a lot of teams are going to around the league are going to be calling about. Mark my words. And I don't think it's far-fetched. The things that he can do defensively, if his offensive game ever came near him averaging 20 points per game, it could get scary. I'm just putting that out there. It could get scary. I love DeJounte Murray. It could get scary. For Sixth Man of the Year, Derrick Rose. My front runner is Derrick Rose. Jordan Clarkson had a hell of a year last year. Even Joe Ingles. I know there's Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell out there in Washington and whatnot. The Lakers got Malik Monk. He could carve out a new role out there with Los Angeles. But I got Derrick Rose. I just think that Derrick Rose is put in a prime position to do some great things off the bench. They now have Kemba there, who's going to be serviceable. Even if Kemba is missing some games or whatever, you have Emmanuel Quickley. I think Derrick Rose in that six-man role for the Knicks is perfect. And I think if he started the year last year with the New York Knicks, he would have won that award. But because he came in the middle of the season from a trade from Detroit or whatnot, Jordan Clarkson had the advantage. Jordan Clarkson came out on fire anyway and kind of had that award wrapped up early in the season. But I do think Derrick Rose is the clear-cut winner. Like I would put money on Derrick Rose winning this one. He means so much to the Knicks, and he's like the best definition of a six-man. He really comes in and changes the game for the Knicks. Whatever we're lacking, when he comes in, he kind of changes that or inputs or bringing that to the table. Whether it's scoring. A lot of the times it is scoring because as an isolation scorer, he has still a lot in his bag, and he puts that on display every time he checks into the game. But Derrick Rose is the instant impact and energy guy for us, so I do think this is a year where he could take home that. And that would be an incredible story from, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year now. That would be a great turnaround for him from all of the injuries that we saw him go through and all the work that he put in to get back to where he is now. My dark horse guy, Tyler Hero. You heard us say it on Through the Wire, man. When a guy becomes a father, his game goes up a different level and a different notch. I think this year in Miami, they have a nice, complete team. One of the best off seasons of any team, in my opinion, with the additions of Kyle Lowry, bringing back Victor Oladipo, adding a guy like PJ Tucker coming off a championship. You retain Duncan Robinson with his lethal outside shooting. Dwayne Dedmon coming back. I think they have a lot. And I think now, with all of those pieces that I named, they have a legit starting five, which should be Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, and then Bam Adebayo, and you now have Tyler Hero in a role that I think is perfect for him, which is the 6-man role. He can come off the bench, be a microwave scorer, not a shooter, a legit microwave scorer. And now that I think about it, I named that starting lineup and Victor Oladipo isn't in it. So what is Victor Oladipo? The 7th man, I'm hoping? Because if he's the 6th man, he now hurts my 6-man pick. But Tyler Hero, again, just like Jordan Poole, all preseason, hooping, high-scoring games, real locked in, real focused. A lot of chit-chat with his name over last year because of it wasn't the same that we saw in the bubble, whatnot. So I think he's eager and hungry to have a bounce-back win. And I think now having all of those other guys there, it takes less pressure off him to do certain things. You know what I mean? Let Tyler Hero be Tyler Hero. And he's a scorer. I think he's going to be put in situations where he's playing a lot of minutes with the second unit. And he'll have a lot more touches than being forced to play with Jimmy and, you know, their top go-to guys. Now he can have some room to work with alone. And he can share that offensive focus, and I think it's going to be beneficial for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the top guys in his 6th man of the year running as well. Jordan Clarkson is probably going to be in it. I wanted to go with some picks that were new instead of just keeping the same, you know. But I think Jordan Clarkson, with the role that he has on the Jazz, is literally sub in and shoot all the shots. The best role that I've ever seen. He's definitely going to be a name that's going to be involved again. And same thing with his teammate Joe Ingles. For Rookie of the Year, it was tough for me. It was real tough, and I'll say this. This is why it's tough. Jalen Green in Houston is going into a situation where there's nobody really there. I don't want to say nobody because they do have Christian Wood. Kevin Porter Jr. is probably going to have a most improved player type year. So they do have some things, but I think out of all the rookies, he may have like the biggest and brightest green light where like he can come in. Because even the guys he's playing with, they're pretty much younger. There's no legitimate body to like tell him kind of what to do. They're all similar in age, and they have a offense that they run where they're going to get up and down. I think he's going to have a lot of highlight plays. I think he's going to put up big scoring numbers, which is always attractive to voters, and that makes me want to pick him. But then again, I look at Cade Cunningham, and I see that he's playing with to me a better pool of talent. So I think he's going to have a better all-around season. He may not, like for example, I could see Jalen Green averaging 20 points, 3 rebounds, around 3 assists. And then I could see Cade Cunningham maybe not averaging 20 points, but I could see Cade Cunningham maybe being a 16-point scorer, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. You know what I mean? Probably a little bit more efficient. His team, not that it matters, may win a couple more games, a few more games. So I could see that. And if that's the case, I'm going to go with Cade Cunningham. But I do understand why a lot of other people are going with Jalen Green. The scoring, the green light, the fact that there's less talent on his team, no real vets or anything like that. So I see the intrigue with the Jalen Green pick. But I got to go Cade Cunningham, man. I like a stat sheet stuffer. I think he's going to do that because there is so much more talent with Jeremy Grant, Killian Hayes, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey. Cade ain't going to come in and just chuck. He's going to give us a little bit of everything, and he's going to fill that stat sheet out, and I think that that's going to edge out Jalen Green for me. My dark horse, Evan Mobley out in Cleveland. Now, it's crazy to say that a 3rd overall pick is a dark horse, but obviously when you talk about Rookie of the Year, it's Cade, Jalen. Somebody may throw in Scotty Barnes here and there, but not enough people talk about Evan Mobley, and I think he can be a double-double guy. I think he can be really good defensively, and I think Cleveland is going to be unique enough to allow him to do a lot of different things. We've already seen in the preseason, they've had lineups where it's Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and Kevin Love. Lauri Markkanen, Evan Mobley, and Jared Allen. So I've seen him shoot jump shots, lobs. I've seen him block shots. I've seen him take it on the coast where he crossed over Lonzo or put the ball behind his back, whatever he did, and made a pass. I've seen him do a lot of different things, and they may allow him to do that because there aren't high expectations there. So just let him be a unicorn and do all different type of things. And if that's the case, he could sneak up and out of nowhere win that Rookie of the Year award. Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year last year was really good because Ben Simmons, I think, was the best all-around defender. Versatile, can guard, 1 through 5, can guard the ball handler in the pick and roll, the screen man. He was really, really well. But Rudy Gobert, again, was historical with his impact, and that's why his team was ultimately the number 1 seed in the heavy Western Conference, and that spoke volumes of Rudy's impact defensively. So he went home again with another award. But this year, my front runner pick is Anthony Davis. I'm thinking and I'm anticipating Anthony Davis doing the same exact thing for the Lakers. Frank Vogel is a defensive-minded coach. They've already talked about it at media day. Anthony Davis playing a lot more 5, which means a lot more rim protection. And if that's the case, that means the stars are aligning for Anthony Davis to take home that Defensive Player of the Year award. He will have to be hungry, and healthy. But now he's going to have to be hungry. That's the part. And I think he will be, because last year was a down year. It came back to bite them in the playoffs because they were never hungry, because speculation say they didn't come into the season in shape or whatnot. And I think that he's primed with a bounce back year. And I think he's understanding that this team is his. You know what I mean? They need him to be one of the top guys and arguably their best player for them to have the type of success that they want to have. LeBron James is going into his 19-20 season. Russell Westbrook is a little bit more older. They're calling the rest of the roster old. Anthony Davis has to be their guy that they're passing that torch to carry them throughout certain stretches. And I think on the defensive end will be the most impactful for them, because nobody on that team can do what he does on the defensive side of the basketball. And if that's the case, I think Anthony Davis can take that home. Dark horse, Clint Capella. Clint Capella, impactfully, defensively, does his thing for the Hawks. We know how, they have to hire Trae Young or whatnot, but that's what Nate McMillan does. He's a defensive-minded coach. So I do see Clint Capella getting some love from voters because of the impact that he will have. When you think about all of the centers that he's going to have to face in the East with Vucevic, Embiid, you know what I mean, and just backlining that defense. He's probably going to have to guard Giannis when they play the Bucks. Clint Capella is a dark horse guy. Don't forget the name. Don't forget the high rebounds, the block shots. Clint Capella anchoring that defense is going to get a lot of love and should get a lot of love. Not the most fanciest name, but I think when you look at the stats the same way they do with Rudy, you'll see some impact for Clint Capella. And I think he's going to be instrumental and key for the Atlanta Hawks potentially making another jump this season. So Clint Capella, my dark horse defensive player of the year. Now, last but not least, the grand finale, the award that everybody came to talk about, the one that's going to get everybody talking, my MVP, the Most Valuable Player award. My front runner is Luka Doncic. When we talk about, let me say his name right, Luka Doncic. When we talk about what he did last year was incredible. That team just, when you look at the Mavericks on paper, they're not as good as they are. And that just speaks volumes on how good Luka Doncic is. This is a 30-point walking triple-double on any given night. He legitimately makes everybody around him better. I don't know if I love their offensive system because it can get very stagnant, but he does make others around him better. I think they improved roster-wise. I think the coaching change is going to put a lot of emphasis on getting more out of Kristaps Porzingis, and the more you get out of him, everything else falls into place. Everything else falls into place. I love their role players that are returning. They know their roles. They know what they're going to do and what's expected of them. And then to have a guy like Luka tie it all in, man, when you think about LeBron and the Lakers, I don't know if their mind is going to be on, like I said earlier, they're probably not going to think about being the number one seed as much. They're an older team. Their mind is on the playoffs and winning a championship. Utah, cool, maybe. Even, the Nuggets and the Suns or whatnot. But I really legitimately think that the Mavericks, on the backs of Luka Doncic, with some more help from Kristaps Porzingis and the supporting cast that they have, this team could be dangerous out west. We saw what they did in the playoffs against the Clippers in back-to-back years, which was single-handedly Luka Doncic. So if we can get any type of help from the rest of the cast and any production higher than last year from Kristaps, this could be very, very scary. I think they're a team that's not being talked about enough because, like I said, on paper, it doesn't blow you out of the water. Their offseason acquisitions aren't as sexy as some other teams. The names aren't as bigger. But when you remember who is the driving force and engine behind their team, and Luka Doncic, and you realize what he did in the playoffs single-handedly, and also even what he just did in the past Olympics, my money is on Luka Doncic to put that team in a respectable spot out west and to take home this year's most valuable player. Mark it down, signed, sealed, delivered. Luka, I'm excited for you. You better bring home that award, my guy. My dark horse guy, ironically, speaking of Luka Doncic, speaking of my Coach of the Year award, you see any parallels? My dark horse is Trae Young. As crazy it is, these guys are always finding a way to get tied together. Trae Young, for all of the reasons I said about Luka. I mean, the East isn't wide open. That's not the word that I want to use, but it's always the one that gravitates to my mind. It's just the fact that there is no clear-cut teams. And a lot of the other teams that are higher than the Hawks as far as echelon, I just don't think that their priority is to be a top seed. I think a lot of these teams are primed to be seasoned and ready for the playoffs to make deep runs. I don't think the Nets are going to be, again, breaking their necks to be a 60-plus win team. If it happens, it happens. But with the Kyrie Irving situation and the impact that injuries had on them last playoffs, I think they're going to take it real nice and slow, coast, blow a lot of teams out of the water early on. A lot of James Harden and Kevin Durant, fourth quarter, second half, resting. When you talk about the Bucks, same thing. A lot of blowouts. Maybe, Giannis has experimented with his jump shot. But again, they're going to be a team that's going to be primed to be seasoned, healthy, and ready for the playoffs. And I think a team like Atlanta can do the same thing like the Mavericks out west, but in the East, take advantage of those older, higher echelon teams that have championship aspirations. Take their coasting and take advantage of it and find yourself sliding right through in the top of the echelon quietly under the radar. And the Hawks have shown us that they have all it takes. They have a dynamic player in Trae Young who's like Luka. He puts a lot of pressure on you. He makes guys better. High pick and rolls. Makes you pick your poison. They have defense behind him. Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter are going to be healthy. Clint Capella is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate on my list. Kongu from USC is back there. Veterans like Danilo, Lou Williams, Kevin Huerter. This team is deep and ready. And I think they're going to be legit, just like the Mavericks. And Trae Young, for those reasons, is my dark horse MVP. It's crazy, and like I said, it's ironic that these two get tied together. But I feel like those are legitimate reasons, man. Those two teams are teams that I just think will surprise people, and I'm hoping that they do. But like I said in the intro, I want to hear y'all opinions. I want to hear y'all perspectives. Give me some context. Give me some dialogue. Let me know your predictions for each award if you care that much. If I said anything that's from your favorite team or something that's a team that you hate, let me know. Disagree, agree. I want to see dialogue. I'm supporting that. Dialogue. I'm encouraging it. I'm going to take my time to read what y'all saying. And I might react to some of y'all predictions, so don't be surprised if you see that. But as always, I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug. This is NBA Weekly. I'm excited for the season. I hope y'all excited. And man, we up out of here. Peace.